Welcome to 4-3, using tables and graphs to solve. This one is, we're going to be looking at comparisons of things. If we have two different items, we'd like to know when one choice might be better than the other choice. We can use a table to create a set of data that we can look through and determine where that is. The guided example is pretty much it for this lesson. It's fairly long. I'm going to go through that with you using the TI Nspire. If you don't have a TI Nspire, it doesn't have to be a CAS, but it does need to be, it should be an Nspire, and you should have it with you. If you don't, you could do this using Excel. You might need a little help if you're not familiar with Excel, but it's somewhat similar to what we're doing here with the calculator. I would encourage you to get the calculator and use it to solve this problem. Okay, first we've got our guided example, and we're looking at comparing two office companies, an office company comparing two copiers. In the first case, Acme Copiers offers a copier for $250 a month with an additional charge of 1 cent per copy. Best offers the same machine. It costs $70 a month, but the per copy charge is 3 cents per copy. Pretty clear if we look at this. If we don't have very many copies, then Best Printers is our best choice. If, on the other hand, we have a lot of copies, and we're not sure how many, then Acme is going to be a better choice, because at some point, at 3 cents a copy, Best is going to cost more. Our question is, when does that occur? What is the crossover point for these two copier companies? And we're going to build a table to do that. To the right, you'll see I've got the Nspire calculator set up. I've got it in the table section, so you want to get to that point, you can go to menu and choose that, or dock and create a new table. But from here we're going to label these things, and we don't have a lot of room, so I'm not going to make it as big as the labels in the book, but I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. And I'm just going to simply make this one first to be X copies. So that's our first block. In the next one, I want to put in Acme Copiers price, so it's just going to be Acme is all I'm going to put there, because I'm not going to confuse that with Best. Acme. And in C, it's going to be Best. And for C, I'm going to put in Best. So I got Best. And then now I've got to fill in my data here. And what I want is just a sequence for X, and we can see they went in 2000, so they started with 0 and went from 0 to 2000, and then from 2000 to 4000. And now what I'd like to do would be to, where I got that little X kind of cross thing going, and I can drag this down, and they went to, I don't know, 10 spots. We'll go to 20. Let's see what we get. Okay. And so now we've got our sequence of data, and now we want to do something with it. I don't want to have to keep entering a formula in over and over again, so I'm just going to do it one time. So I've got equals, and this is for Acme, and that's 250 plus 0.01 times, and what I want to multiply it by is the X value, which is what is in cell A1. So I'm going to select A1. So my formula now shows me that I've got, now I got to hit enter before I select another cell. And we can see if we'd had no copies, Acme is going to cost us $250. For Best, we start with the equal sign again. That's what you do to tell the calculator that you're entering a formula to be computed. 70 plus 0.03 times, and again I want what's in A1, set enter, and I've got it now. I got 250 and 70. So for 0 copies, that's what I've got. Now I want to select both of these cells at the same time. I'm going to go up here until I get that little cross again. I'm going to click and hold or control click and then slide down till I'm at the end of my table, and I'm going to release it, and I now have something that begins to look like my data set for this information. And what I can see is that as I add copies in, that the prices are increasing for both of the copiers. Acme, of course, costs more to begin with, but Best costs more and more over time. So what I want to know is at what point is Acme's price lower than Best's price, and when is Best's price lower than Acme's price? So I'm going to go on down here through my graph, and I see that in my increments at 10,000 copies, then Best has a price that is lower than, Acme has a price that is lower than Best's price. Let me go ahead and change this page here. And so what we're seeing here in number 2 is it's saying when this is true, we have what we would put in here would be the 10,000. Well, that's when X is greater than or equal to 10,000, Acme's price is lower. And when X is less than or equal to 8,000, Best's price is lower. So we've got our bracket. We're not sure where the crossover is yet, and it tells us that in number 3. From this table, you cannot tell the exact break-even point. However, it seems to occur between which copies? Well, it occurs somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 copies is where, 8,000 and 10,000 copies is where this crossover occurs, but we don't know that. So that's our, before 8,000 and below, we know Best is cheaper. 10,000 and above, we know Acme is cheaper, but we don't know where the break point occurs. So if we adjust our table with X between the values in step 3, then we might have a chance to determine which one is better. So we could just go back into this table. I've already got these formulas in. I want to go between 8 and 10,000. I could do that in various increments. So let's go back to the top here. And we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to delete what's in here. And you can see I've got nothing in my formulas now, so I want to go ahead and I'm going to put in 8,000. And I've got that number. And now I got the question of increment. By how much do I go up each time? In the book, they went up by 500. Well, if it's a multiple of 10, that's fine. Of 500, it's fine. If it's something in between, maybe not, but let's see what they've got. So at 8,000, and then I've got 8,500, and I should have enough to give me a sequence, and okay, that didn't do it, because Acme's still more expensive than Best. I've got my X, and I go back up here and I see that I've got 8,000, 8,500, 9,000, 9,500, 10,000, and I can see that at 9,000 they're equal. They both cost $340 a month. And so now we have our answer to number 5, and we can fill in our table as well. The break-even point occurs when X equals 9,000 and the price is $340. So we have both those pieces of information. It's important to describe the two variables for the break-even point. The X value is 9,000. The Y value is 340. Now, we could have also looked at this in a graphical format to see where the two lines might intersect. So we're going to go ahead and do that in just a second. Alright, so let's go ahead and we're going to enter a graph. So I'm got my graph screen up. I'm going to menu and I'm going to go to graph entry edit. I'm going to put in function. And the first thing I want is 250. So 250 plus 0.01 times X. We'll enter that and we see nothing at all, and I notice it asks me to put in a window, so I'm going to do that. Click on menu, Windows Zoom, Windows Settings. So I could go 4.1 and get to what I need, or I can use the cursor. So 4, and now that I'm there, I hit 1, I got Windows Settings, and it wants X minimum to be 0. So that'll be 0. And X maximum is 20,000. Okay, and then I come down to Y minimum is 0 and Y maximum is 500. Hit OK. Okay, now I've got my graph for F1. I need to get in a graph for F2. So I'm going to go into menu, graph entry edit function, and it's given me the F2 information. So now I'm going to put in 70 plus 0.03 times X. I'm going to enter that, and I've got my two graphs, and I can see that they intersect each other. But it asks me to use the intersect command to evaluate that. So the commands are going to be here back in menu. So in menu I'm looking at, I got some choices here. So it's not an entry edit, it's not the window, it's not trace, analyze graph. Analyze looks good, and there I see number 4 is intersection. So I'm going to go and either type in 4 at this point, or get over and select it. So 4 is intersection, and it's wants to know our lower bound. Now, a word of caution here: if you can't see your graphs on the screen, you can't find their intersection. So the first thing you have to do is have the window set up so that in fact you see the intersection of the graphs. And now it's asking me, where do I want to find the lower bounds of this? And so I'm going to slide this over, and that'll be my lower bound. I'll click on that, and now it wants me to find my upper bound, so I slide that bar over and I'll click on that, and now I have indeed my intersection is in between, and it's given me that information right here. 9e to the third is what this means. So that's 9 times 10 to the third power. And 10 to the third power would be 1,000. So that would be 9,000 is the x coordinate. And the y coordinate is 350. And indeed, we found out through the graph and the graph intersection that 9,000 at 9,000 copies and $340, the two copiers cost the same amount of money. So that's it for lesson 4-3. If you need some additional help with this, again, I recommend, talk to each other, try to help each other out, write it on the board. I'd be happy to do another lecture and some other examples to show you how this could be done while we're sitting together with our calculators in hand. So let me know if you're going to need that. We're going to be heading into 4.4 into some other techniques where we actually solve these equations algebraically. And I think what you're going to find is that it's quicker to get to an algebraic solution than it is to go through what we just went through with the graphical and arithmetic table solutions. But sometimes those are what makes sense to us. And so it's useful to know how they work, see how they could help you with this, and how they might help verify that indeed what you got is true. Your assignment is to do 4-3, covering the reading and applying the math. You'll see that it's a very short set of assignments in terms of numbers, but within each number there's quite a few things to be done. Pay attention again to what are you being asked to do, what is the question you're being asked to do, and make sure you're able to resolve that. Looking forward to seeing you get through the mastery quiz on this. Best of luck, and I will see you in class.